Vincent Callahan had rejected every woman who ever tried to get close to him because in his world, love was not a promise, it was leverage. Then on a freezing night outside Boston, a broke young woman drove through the gates of his heavily guarded estate carrying the one thing men had already killed to possess. Emma Brooks did not come for his money. She did not come for protection. She came to return a ring she could have sold to erase every debt crushing her life. She thought doing the right thing would set her free. Instead, it placed her directly in the path of a mafia war and inside the home of the most dangerous man in the city. Stay with this story because what begins with a lost ring will become a brutal test of trust, loyalty, and the one weakness Vincent swore he would never have. If you're watching, like the video and comment where you're watching from. The problem had not started when Emma Brooks found the ring. It had started years earlier in a hospital corridor that smelled of antiseptic rain and blood. Long before she drove through the gates of the Callahan estate, long before Vincent Callahan looked at her as if he could see every lie she had ever told, he had already decided there was one mistake he would never make. He would never love anyone enough to lose control. 6 years earlier, Vincent had stood beneath the fluorescent lights of Massachusetts General Hospital with his father's blood drying beneath his fingernails. He was 28 then, young enough to believe power could protect a family, old enough to discover that it could not. Patrick Callahan had been shot 3 times outside a private rehabilitation clinic in Cambridge. The strange thing was that Patrick had never been scheduled to visit that afternoon. His calendar said he was supposed to be meeting attorneys downtown. His security detail expected him there. His driver expected him there. Only a handful of people knew he had changed his plans. Patrick had gone to see Vincent's mother. Margaret Callahan had been recovering quietly after surgery, away from reporters, business associates, and the endless stream of men who always seemed to need something from her husband. Patrick had slipped away from his official schedule because Margaret hated being alone in hospitals. Someone had known. Someone had been waiting. Vincent arrived 12 minutes after the shooting. He still remembered the doors opening. He remembered his father on the emergency room table. Patrick Callahan had been a large man all his life, broad-shouldered and loud enough to fill every room he entered. On that table he looked strangely small. Machines surrounded him. Doctors shouted numbers. A nurse pushed Vincent back when he tried to approach. Patrick's hand hung over the edge of the mattress. The black gold signet ring on his finger was covered in blood. Vincent stared at it. His father had worn that ring every day for as long as Vincent could remember. At breakfast, at weddings, at funerals, at baseball games when Vincent was a child, at meetings where grown men left the room looking pale. Patrick had once let Vincent try it on when he was 7. It had swallowed half his hand. Vincent had laughed. Patrick had closed the boy's fingers around the ring and said, "Someday you will grow into it." Patrick died before midnight. Vincent never forgot the sound his mother made when the doctor told her. It was not a scream. It was quieter than that. A sound pulled from somewhere so deep inside a person that Vincent could not bear to hear it twice. That night changed the architecture of him. People around Boston liked to say Vincent Callahan had been born cold. They were wrong. Coldness had been learned. It had been built deliberately, brick by brick, name by name, funeral by funeral. Patrick's murder taught Vincent that enemies did not always attack the strongest wall. They looked for the door you forgot to lock. A wife, a brother, a child, a person whose voice could make you abandon your schedule and cross a city without thinking. Love, Vincent decided, was simply a map showing your enemies where to cut. He never said those words publicly. He did not need to. Boston learned the lesson by watching him. By 34, Vincent controlled the Callahan organization with a precision that made older men nervous. The legal side of the family business was impressive enough on paper. Shipping terminals along the harbor, construction companies, commercial real estate, private security contracts, warehouses stretching from South Boston toward the interstate. The other side existed mostly in conversations that never happened over telephones. Men paid debts. Cargo moved without questions. Certain disputes ended before police reports were written. Vincent did not shout. He did not need to. A quiet sentence from him could move millions of dollars or empty a nightclub before midnight. He dressed simply for a man with that kind of money. Dark suits, white shirts, black watches, no bright ties, no unnecessary jewelry, only the ring. Patrick Callahan's ring, black gold heavy and almost severe with a silver Celtic wolf set into the face. Most people assumed Vincent wore it because it represented leadership. They were only partly right. The ring was sentimental. It was also dangerous. Inside the band, almost invisible without magnification, was a sequence of engraved characters. It formed one half of an access cipher connected to a reserve fund Patrick had created during the most unstable years of the Callahan organization. The second half existed elsewhere under Vincent's personal control. Neither piece was useful alone. Together they could confirm and unlock a network of emergency accounts held through legal trusts and offshore structures. The total reserve was close to $180 million. Money intended to keep the family alive if banks froze accounts, governments seized property, or enemies disrupted their legitimate companies. Vincent never spoke about it outside a room he personally swept for listening devices. Even Jack Sullivan, his closest friend and underboss, knew only part of the structure. The Keene organization knew less, but less was enough to make the ring worth killing for. Raymond Keene had spent years trying to weaken the Callahans. The Keenes were not new to Boston. They had survived 3 generations by learning how to smile across dinner tables while planning funerals. Raymond was different from the men who came before him. He enjoyed humiliation almost as much as victory. Territory was not enough. He wanted Vincent frightened. He wanted the Callahan name to look mortal. For years, Vincent denied him that satisfaction. Then came the meeting at the Hawthorne Hotel. It happened on a brutal Tuesday night near the end of November. Boston had been coated in freezing rain since dusk. The streets reflected red brake lights and yellow lamps in long, trembling streaks. Vincent arrived at the Hawthorne shortly before 10. The meeting concerned a shipping dispute at the port. On paper, it was boring. In Vincent's world, boring meetings were often the ones most likely to end in gunfire. Jack rode in the front of the armored SUV. 2 security vehicles followed. Vincent sat in back reading a message on his phone. One of the dock supervisors had changed his story twice. That bothered him. He looked up. The Hawthorne rose ahead of them, all polished stone and glowing windows. Inside, wealthy guests drank cocktails while snow began to gather along the curb. Vincent entered through a private side door. The meeting lasted 47 minutes. Nothing exploded. No one raised a voice. That made Jack more suspicious, not less. When they left, he leaned toward Vincent near the service elevator. Too clean. Vincent glanced at him. You complain when they shoot at us. You complain when they don't. I like consistency. The elevator doors opened into the underground garage. A security man walked ahead. Another covered the rear. Vincent adjusted the ring on his finger. It had felt loose all evening. He had lost weight during a difficult month and had not bothered having it resized. A small irritation. Nothing more. The lights went out. Everything disappeared. For half a second, the garage held its breath. Then headlights ignited at both ends of the exit lane. 2 dark vehicles accelerated forward. Jack swore. Gunfire cracked through the concrete. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness in violent white bursts. One of Vincent's guards dropped before he could reach cover. Another fired toward the nearest SUV. Vincent pulled his pistol and moved behind a support column. Bullets chipped concrete beside his head. Back exit, Jack shouted. There is no back exit. There is tonight. Jack fired twice, then ran toward a maintenance corridor. Vincent followed. A man came from between 2 parked vehicles. Vincent saw the knife before he saw the face. The attacker slammed into him. They struck the hood of a sedan hard enough to dent the metal. Vincent caught the man's wrist. The blade stopped inches from his throat. For several seconds, neither man spoke. Only breath. Shoes scraping wet concrete. Gunshots echoing somewhere behind them. The attacker drove a knee into Vincent's ribs. Vincent twisted, struck him across the jaw, then drove him against the car. The man reached for the pistol at Vincent's waist. Vincent seized the back of his coat and threw him toward the drainage lane. The attacker recovered faster than expected. He lunged again. Vincent caught him by the throat and slammed him into the concrete wall. Once. Twice. The man stopped moving. Vincent released him. His right hand was bleeding. His knuckles were split. The ring was slick against his skin. Jack grabbed his shoulder. We go now. More headlights entered the garage. A second team. Vincent looked once toward the fallen attacker, then ran. He never felt the ring leave his finger. It struck the pavement beside the dead man, rolled beneath a parked delivery truck, spun once in a shallow stream of melted snow, then stopped against the edge of a storm drain. By the time Vincent reached the armored vehicle, police sirens were already rising somewhere beyond the hotel. Jack pushed him into the back seat. The doors locked. Their driver accelerated into the night. Vincent sat forward, breathing hard. Blood ran down his hand. He looked at his fingers. Something was wrong. For 1 second, his mind refused to identify it. Then he saw the pale strip of skin where the ring should have been. "Stop the car." Jack turned. "What? Stop the car. We have people behind us. My ring." Jack looked at Vincent's hand. His face changed. No. Vincent was already reaching for the door. Jack grabbed him. "We are not going back into an active kill zone for a piece of jewelry." Vincent looked at him. Jack released his arm immediately. It was not the expression of a man worried about jewelry. Vincent spoke quietly. "That ring contains the first cipher." Jack understood. The car did not stop. It could not. Instead, Jack sent a recovery team back once the police cleared the garage. They searched until sunrise. The ring was gone. For 3 days, Vincent's organization tore through every possible channel. Pawn shops, private jewelers, street fences, hotel employees, taxi drivers, anyone known to move stolen luxury goods. Vincent expected Raymond Keene to call. He expected a demand. Money, territory, a port contract, a humiliation. Nothing came. That silence became its own threat. Across the city, Emma Brooks knew none of this. Her life contained smaller emergencies, smaller in scale, not in pain. Emma was 27 and had become very good at pretending overdue notices were ordinary mail. She lived in a narrow apartment in Dorchester, where the radiator knocked at night and the kitchen window refused to close completely during winter. A folded towel sat permanently along the sill to keep cold air from leaking through. Her mother had hated that window. Linda Brooks used to stand in front of it every November and say the landlord was personally trying to freeze them to death. Emma could still hear the joke sometimes. That was the cruelest thing about grief. It kept a person's voice alive after their body was gone. Linda had died 14 months earlier after 3 years of ovarian cancer. At first, everyone told Emma to focus on her mother. Do not worry about money. Do not think about bills. There will be time for that later. Later arrived with the envelopes, hospital statements, specialist fees, medication charges, collection notices, numbers so large they stopped feeling real. Emma owed more than $120,000. She worked mornings at the Boston Historical Preservation Center, where she cataloged donated letters, photographs, ledgers, and objects that wealthy families suddenly decided belonged to history. She loved the work. Old things made sense to her. Every object carried evidence: a scratch, a maker's mark, a repaired seam, a stain. History never truly disappeared. It simply waited for someone patient enough to notice what remained. The job did not pay enough. So several evenings each week, Emma worked reception at a boutique hotel near Back Bay. She smiled at guests wearing coats worth more than her car. She arranged dinner reservations. She called taxis. She listened politely while people complained that their rooms were too warm. Then she took public transportation home and checked her bank account before deciding whether she could buy groceries. On the night she found the ring, she had finished a double shift. The freezing rain had stopped. Snow had begun. Her feet hurt. Her phone battery was at 4%. She had received 3 calls from a collection company during dinner service. She had ignored all 3. Her route took her past the Hawthorne Hotel. Police tape still fluttered near the service entrance from the violence 3 nights earlier. Emma had heard about the shooting on the local news. The report called it a suspected organized crime incident. No arrests, no public victims identified. Normal Boston language for something everyone understood and no one wanted to discuss. Emma took the alley because it shortened the walk. She kept her head down against the wind. Halfway through, something caught the streetlight. A dull flash near the curb. She almost ignored it. Then habit took over. Archival work trained the eye to notice what did not belong. Emma stopped, bent down, reached beside the storm drain. Her fingers closed around metal so cold it hurt. She lifted the ring into the light. Heavy, black gold, silver wolf. One edge of the crest had been scratched. She rubbed the surface with her thumb. The craftsmanship was extraordinary. Not mass-produced, not modern, not cheap. Emma looked around. The alley was empty. She slipped the ring into her pocket. At home, she placed it on the kitchen table. Then she opened an envelope she had been avoiding for 4 days. Final notice. Her eyes moved from the red letters to the ring, then back again. She sat very still. A rational voice told her to turn it over to the police. Another voice reminded her that the police might place it in a drawer for 6 months. Another reminded her that rent was due in 9 days. Emma picked up the ring. She imagined selling it, not becoming rich. She did not think that way. She imagined silence. No collection calls, no red envelopes, no waking at 3 in the morning calculating numbers that never worked. She imagined walking into a grocery store without adding the cost in her head before putting food into the cart. The temptation frightened her because it did not feel greedy. It felt reasonable. She opened her laptop, searched for private jewelry buyers, closed the browser, opened it again. The next afternoon, she took the ring to Henry Meyer. His shop sat between a barber and a closed laundromat in South Boston. A faded sign above the door read, "Meyer Gold and Loan." The bell rang when Emma entered. Henry looked up from behind the glass counter. He was in his 60s with silver hair and thick glasses. Emma placed the ring on the counter. "I need an appraisal." Henry reached for it, then stopped. His fingers froze inches above the metal. Emma noticed. What Henry looked at her, then at the front door. "Where did you get this? I found it." His voice dropped, where Emma felt irritation rise. "I am not trying to sell stolen property. I found it near the Hawthorne." Henry stepped back. He did not touch the ring. "Put it away." Emma frowned. "I just need to know what it is worth. More than you want." "What does that mean?" Henry stared at the silver wolf. "That is Callahan." Emma felt something cold move through her stomach. She knew the name. Everyone did. Vincent Callahan Henry gave a humorless laugh. There is only one Callahan people whisper like that. Emma looked down at the ring. Her hand suddenly seemed much too close to it. Henry leaned toward her. "Listen carefully. You do not sell that. You do not show it around. You do not tell anyone you have it." Emma whispered. "Why?" "Because men have died for less." She swallowed. "What am I supposed to do with it?" Henry stared at her as if the answer should have been obvious. "Give it back." To him, Henry said nothing. That silence was answer enough. Emma left the shop with the ring buried deep inside her coat. Outside traffic moved through slush. People carried coffee. A delivery cyclist cursed at a taxi. The world looked offensively normal. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Emma answered before she could stop herself. A woman from a collection agency identified herself. Emma listened to 30 seconds of practiced sympathy and legal language, then ended the call. She stood beneath a gray Boston sky with $120,000 of debt and a ring that might have erased a meaningful portion of it. She could sell it privately. She could leave the state. She could drop it into the harbor and pretend none of this had happened. Instead, she thought of her mother. Linda had spent her final year apologizing for the bills. Emma had hated those apologies. She had told her mother again and again that money was only money. That being there mattered more. If Emma sold the ring now, perhaps no one would ever know. But she would. That was enough. She searched Vincent Callahan's name. An address did not appear. Of course it did not. But the Callahan estate was not exactly a secret. People in Boston knew where powerful families lived, even when they pretended not to. Lake-sized property outside the city, stone walls, private road, security gates. Emma drove there before she could change her mind. The heater in her Honda worked only when the car was moving. At red lights, cold air crept back inside. The ring sat in her coat pocket. She touched it twice during the drive just to make sure it had not disappeared. When the estate finally came into view, she nearly turned around. Iron gates rose ahead of her. Cameras followed the car. Black vehicles stood behind the guardhouse. Emma slowed. Her heart began beating harder. This was no police station, no pawn shop, no ordinary house. She pulled to the security intercom and stopped. For several seconds, she simply sat there. Then one of the guards stepped toward her window. Emma lowered the glass. Cold wind rushed inside. "I need to see Vincent Callahan." The guard looked at her old car, her worn coat, then back at her face. "Mr. Callahan does not accept visitors. I have something that belongs to him. Leave." Emma reached into her pocket slowly. The guard's hand moved toward his coat. "Easy." She opened her palm. The black gold ring rested against her skin. The silver wolf caught the light. Everything changed. The guard stopped breathing for half a beat. His eyes lifted to hers. Another man came out of the guardhouse. Neither of them told her to leave again. A radio crackled. The gates began to open. Emma stared through them at the long private road beyond. She had found the ring by accident. She had returned it by choice. As her car rolled onto Callahan property, those two facts were the only things in her life that still felt simple. The gates closed behind Emma with a slow metallic weight that seemed far louder than it should have been. She watched them disappear in the rearview mirror. For one irrational second, she wanted to put the car in reverse. It was too late. A black SUV pulled ahead of her and guided her through the estate. The property seemed to go on forever. Bare winter trees lined the private road. Security cameras turned quietly from stone pillars. The mansion itself appeared beyond the slope, massive and pale against the gray sky, with tall windows reflecting the last light of afternoon. Emma tightened both hands around the steering wheel. She had imagined returning the ring would take 5 minutes, maybe 10. Hand it over. Explain where she found it. Leave. That was the entire plan. Instead, 2 armed men opened her car door before she had even removed the key. One of them gestured toward the house. "Mr. Callahan is waiting." Emma stepped out. Cold wind lifted her hair across her face. She followed them inside. The first thing she noticed was how quiet the mansion was. Not peaceful, controlled. Men stood at strategic points along the hallway. Some wore suits, others wore plain black clothing with earpieces tucked behind their collars. Nobody appeared surprised to see her. That was somehow worse. A woman in her 50s approached. "My name is Mrs. Doyle." Her expression was polite but unreadable. "I need your coat and your bag." Emma stared at her. "Why for security?" "I am here to return jewelry." Mrs. Doyle looked at the 2 guards behind Emma. "So I have been told." Emma handed over the bag, then the coat. Mrs. Doyle checked both. She even inspected Emma's phone. Emma felt humiliation rise in her chest. "You think I brought a weapon?" Mrs. Doyle handed the phone back. "I think Mr. Callahan has enemies." "That was not my question." For the first time, the older woman almost smiled. "No, I do not think you brought a weapon." She returned the coat. "Follow me." They moved through a long hall lined with oil paintings. Men in dark suits stared down from gilded frames. Some looked severe, some looked tired. All looked expensive. Emma recognized the Callahan name beneath several portraits. She wondered which one was Patrick. Mrs. Doyle stopped in front of tall wooden doors. She knocked once. A voice answered from inside. "Come in." Emma's stomach tightened. The study was warm. A fire burned in a stone fireplace. Shelves covered 2 walls from floor to ceiling. A large desk stood near the windows. Vincent Callahan was behind it. He looked nothing like the newspaper photographs Emma had seen online. Those pictures made him seem polished, distant, almost respectable. In person, he looked more dangerous because he was not trying to. He wore a dark shirt with the sleeves folded to his forearms. No jacket, no tie. A thin cut marked one knuckle. His gray eyes moved from Emma to the ring in her hand. "Leave us." The guard stepped outside. The doors closed. Emma stood alone with him. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Then she walked to the desk. "I found this near the hawthorn." She placed the ring on the wood. Vincent did not immediately touch it. His eyes stayed on her face. "Near the garage?" "Yes." "When 3 nights ago, why did you wait?" Emma swallowed. "I did not know what it was." Vincent looked at the ring. "You know now." "Yes." He picked it up, turned it once. His thumb moved over the silver wolf. Something in his expression shifted. Not softness, something older, something almost private. Then it disappeared. "Who saw it? A pawnbroker." Vincent's eyes hardened. "Name, Henry Meyer." Vincent reached for his phone. Emma immediately felt uneasy. "What are you doing?" He ignored the question. "Jack." A pause. "Meyer Golden Loan. Check it." He listened. "No." Quietly, he ended the call. Emma stepped back. I told him I found it. That is all. Vincent examined her. Did he touch it? No. Did he photograph it? No. How do you know? Because he looked like he wanted it out of his store as fast as possible. Vincent believed that. His expression told her nothing else. Emma took a breath. So you have it? Yes. Good. She turned toward the door. Where are you going home? No. Emma stopped. She looked back slowly. Excuse me, you cannot go home. A nervous laugh escaped her. I think you misunderstood. I am not asking permission. Vincent rested one hand against the desk. His voice remained calm. That ring disappeared during an attack on me. Emma's throat tightened. What kind of attack? The kind where men use guns? She stared at him. Vincent continued. The people responsible know I lost it. They have been looking for it. That has nothing to do with me. It does now. No, it does not. Vincent picked up a tablet from the desk and tapped the screen. He placed it in front of her. A grainy photograph filled the display. Emma saw herself in the alley. Gray coat, head lowered, one hand near the storm drain. Her skin went cold. Where did you get this? A traffic camera 2 streets from the hotel. She looked closer. The image was poor, but it was her. Vincent changed the screen. Another photograph. Emma entering Meyer's shop. Another. Her Honda parked outside. Emma looked up. You followed me? No. Then who did? Vincent's jaw tightened. The Keens. She had heard that name too. Not as often as Callahan, but enough. Emma felt her heartbeat in her throat. They do not know your name yet. Then I leave. They know your car. I can abandon it. They know your face. I can leave Boston. They will watch the airport. I can drive. They will watch the highways. Emma stared at him. You are telling me there is nowhere I can go. I am telling you there is nowhere you can go alone. She stepped away from the desk. No. Vincent studied her. No, what no to all of this? Her voice shook now. She hated that he could hear it. I found something that did not belong to me. I returned it. I did the right thing. You did. So this is finished. It is not. You do not get to drag me into whatever war you are fighting. Vincent's expression changed slightly. I am trying to keep you out of it. You have armed men outside the door. Because someone may already be searching for you. You sound very calm about that. I am calm about most things. That is not reassuring. For the first time, something almost human crossed his face. Tiredness. Then it was gone. Emma reached for her phone. I am calling the police. Vincent did not stop her. That made her pause. You think that is funny? No. You think they cannot help me? I think if you tell a patrol officer that Raymond Keene may be looking for you, he will write down your name, address, workplace, and phone number. Emma stared at him. Vincent added quietly, and then that information will exist in a system other people can access. She lowered the phone. The silence became heavier. What am I supposed to do? Vincent answered immediately. Stay here. Emma almost laughed again. Then she realized he was serious. With you under my protection. This is insane. It is temporary. How temporary until I remove the threat? The words were simple. The meaning was not. Emma looked toward the closed doors. And if I say no, Vincent's eyes held hers. I will still tell my men not to stop you. Relief came too quickly. Then he finished. But if you leave, I cannot promise you will be alive tomorrow morning. Emma said nothing. He was not threatening her. That was the worst part. He believed it. An hour later, Mrs. Doyle showed Emma to a guest suite on the eastern side of the mansion. The room was larger than her apartment. There was a fireplace, a bathroom covered in pale marble. Tall windows looked toward the ocean. A tray of food waited on a table. Emma stood in the center of all that luxury and felt trapped. When Mrs. Doyle reached the door, Emma noticed the man stationed outside. Is he staying there? Yes. Why? For your protection. Emma looked at the guard, then back at Mrs. Doyle. Does anyone in this house understand how prison works? Mrs. Doyle's expression remained professional. You are free to move around the guest wing. That was not an answer. No. Mrs. Doyle closed the door. Emma sat on the edge of the bed. Her hands started shaking. She opened her phone. 6 missed calls. 1 from work. 2 from the collection agency. 1 unknown number. 2 more from work. Normal life was still happening somewhere outside these walls. Her manager probably thought she had disappeared. Her landlord expected rent. The archives had a donation inventory due Friday. Emma stared at the phone until the screen blurred. Then she cried, quietly, because there was no one there to hear her. The next morning she found Vincent in the breakfast room. He was reading a newspaper while drinking coffee. Two men stood near the doorway. Emma walked directly to his table. He looked up. "Good morning." "No." Vincent folded the paper. "No, this is not a good morning." He waited. Emma sat across from him. "I want to go home." "No, you said I was not a prisoner. You are not." "There is a guard outside my bedroom. There are guards outside mine, too. You own the house. A technical difference." Emma stared at him. "You cannot protect someone by taking away every choice they have." Vincent's face remained still. "Choice does not help you if you are dead. That is convenient." "What is?" "Every time you control something, you call it protection." His eyes sharpened. Emma immediately sensed she had touched something deeper. She kept going. "You told me I can leave, but you also told me I will probably be killed if I do. That is not a choice." Vincent leaned back. "What would you prefer I say the truth?" "I am telling you the truth." "No. You are telling me the version that gives you control." The room went quiet. One of the guards looked away. Vincent noticed. "Leave." Both men disappeared. Emma had not expected that. Vincent lowered his voice. "My father died because someone knew where he would be." Emma remained silent. "He changed his schedule for someone he loved." That information reached the wrong people. Emma saw something behind his eyes. Not grief exactly. The scar left after grief had hardened. "So now you control everything. Yes, people too when necessary. That is not normal. No one has ever accused my life of being normal." Emma looked toward the window. Snow drifted across the lawn. "I am not one of your people." Vincent's answer came quietly. "No." Something about the way he said it made her look back. He did not explain, neither did she ask. 3 days passed. Vincent became almost invisible. Emma saw him once crossing the foyer with Jack Sullivan. Another time through the library doorway. He was always moving, always followed, always speaking in low voices. Jack, however, watched her constantly. On the third afternoon, Emma found him waiting near the staircase. "You need something." Jack crossed his arms. "I need to understand you." "That sounds unpleasant. You find a Callahan ring worth more than your apartment building and decide to return it." "Yes." "Why?" "Because it was not mine." Jack almost smiled. "That answer makes me trust you less." Emma frowned. "What answer would make you trust me more? One involving greed." "Sorry to disappoint you." Jack studied her. "You know people would have killed for that ring. I know that now. And you still came here." Emma looked at him. "What would you have done?" Jack did not answer. That told her enough. Later that evening, Emma found the library empty. It was the only room in the house where she could almost forget the guards. The collection surprised her. First editions, old maps, shipping records, leather-bound journals. She pulled one damaged book from a shelf and examined the cracked spine. "You are holding that wrong." Vincent's voice came from behind her. Emma turned. He stood in the doorway. No jacket, no guards. She looked down at his book. "I work in preservation." "I know." She froze. "You know," Vincent walked closer. "I know where you work. You investigated me." "Yes." Emma put the book down. "Of course you did." His gaze moved to the damaged binding. "Can it be repaired?" "Yes." "How?" She hesitated, then explained. Vincent listened, actually listened. When she finished, he touched the cracked leather carefully. "You care about this?" Emma asked. "Why would that surprise you? I do not know. Murderous mafia bosses are not usually known for book conservation." His eyes lifted to hers. Who said murderous? Emma felt heat rise to her face. Vincent almost smiled. It vanished quickly. He looked back at the book. "Old things survive because somebody decides they matter." The words were quiet. Emma watched him. For the first time, she wondered if he was talking about the book at all. The next night, she refused the elaborate dinner delivered to her room. She went downstairs and made grilled cheese. Vincent found her in the kitchen 20 minutes later. He stared at the plate. "You have a chef," I noticed. "He trained in Paris. Good for him." Vincent looked at the sandwich. "You chose this?" "Yes." Voluntarily, Emma took a bite. "It is food, Vincent." He sat across from her. "You are strange. You kidnapped me. I did not kidnap you. You put guards outside my room for protection. There it is again." He almost laughed. This time he did not hide it fast enough. Emma saw the change. The man beneath the reputation. It lasted barely a second. Still it stayed with her. That same night, Jack entered Vincent's study carrying a thick folder. He dropped it on the desk. "You were right." Vincent looked up. "She is clean. No Keen connections, none." Vincent opened the file. Emma's employment history, tax records, rental payments, her mother's medical records, then the debt. More than $120,000. Vincent stopped turning pages. She found the ring while owing this much, yes, and returned it. Jack leaned against the desk. "That is the part I still do not understand." Vincent stared at the number. He thought of Emma in the kitchen eating grilled cheese, her old coat, her cheap car, the way she had looked him in the eye and accused him of using protection as an excuse for control. He had known men who betrayed brothers for less money than this. Emma had held the answer to nearly every financial problem in her life and brought it straight to his door. Vincent closed the folder. "How much of this is active, all of it? Clear it." Jack looked at him. Clear what? Vincent raised his eyes. "Every debt." Jack's expression changed. "That is a lot of money for someone you barely know." Vincent's face gave nothing away. She returned something worth more. Jack hesitated. "You sure this is about the ring?" Vincent looked toward the dark hallway leading to the guest wing. For several seconds he said nothing. Then he reached for the folder again. "Pay it anonymously." Jack understood the conversation was over. He left. Vincent remained alone in the study. Across the house, Emma slept without knowing that by morning, the debt that had shaped every decision of her adult life would be gone. And Vincent had not yet considered what she might think when she discovered who had erased it. Emma found out at 8:14 the next morning. Her phone vibrated against the nightstand while she was brushing her hair. She almost ignored it. Then it vibrated again and again. 3 emails. One from the hospital billing office, one from the collection agency that had called her for almost a year, one from a financial services company she barely recognized. Emma opened the hospital message first. For several seconds she assumed she was reading it incorrectly. Account balance $0. She refreshed the screen. The number remained. Emma opened the second email. The collection account had been satisfied in full. The third confirmed that 2 smaller medical debts had also been closed. Her pulse began to rise. She checked her banking app. No withdrawal, no loan, no insurance adjustment. Nothing. Emma stood very still in the middle of the room. Then she looked toward the door. There was only one person in this house who could make $120,000 disappear before breakfast. She walked downstairs without changing out of the sweater she had slept in. A guard tried to speak to her near the staircase. She passed him without answering. Vincent was in his study. Of course he was. Jack stood beside the desk reviewing papers while Vincent spoke into a phone. Emma pushed the door open. Both men looked up. Vincent took one glance at her face. He ended the call. Jack looked between them. "I think I should leave." "You should," Emma said. Jack disappeared. The door closed. Emma held up her phone. "What did you do?" Vincent leaned back in his chair. "Good morning. Do not do that." "Do what?" "Pretend you do not know why I am here." His expression stayed calm. That made her angrier. "My hospital balance is gone." Vincent said nothing. "The collections are gone." Still nothing. Emma walked closer. "Did you pay them?" "Yes." The simple answer hit harder than denial would have. Emma laughed once. There was no humor in it. "You paid $120,000 without asking me. You owed it." "I know what I owed. It is gone now. That is not the point." Vincent stood. "What is the point?" Emma stared at him. The question seemed genuine. That stunned her. "You really do not understand. I understand you were working 2 jobs to pay bills connected to your mother's treatment." Emma's jaw tightened. "I understand people were calling you every day. You had no right to look into that. I needed to know who you were. You needed to know if I worked for Keen. You did not need to read every painful detail of my life." Vincent's expression shifted. Only slightly. Emma continued. "You saw the debt and decided to fix it." "Yes, without asking. You would have said no." "Exactly." Vincent frowned. "That makes no sense." It makes perfect sense. Emma set the phone on his desk. I returned your ring because it was yours, not because I wanted payment. I know. Do you? Yes. Then why does this feel like you put a price on what I did? Vincent's face hardened. I did not buy your honesty. That is what it feels like. He stepped around the desk. I paid bills that were destroying your life. You made a decision about my life because I could help. You did not help. You took control. The last word stopped him. Emma saw it. She had said something that reached deeper than anger. Vincent looked toward the windows. Outside, snow covered the lawn in perfect white silence. When he spoke again, his voice was lower. In my world, when something is vulnerable, you secure it. Emma's eyes narrowed. I am not something. Vincent looked back at her. For the first time since she entered, there was no defense in his face. No. The answer came quietly. You are not. The anger inside Emma did not disappear, but it changed shape. Vincent walked back to the desk. I cannot undo the payments. Then do not give me anything else. He watched her. No cards, no accounts, no gifts, no money. Fine. And stop making choices for me unless someone is literally shooting at us. One corner of his mouth moved. Emma pointed at him. That is not funny. It was very specific, because apparently it needs to be. Vincent nodded once. Agreed. Emma hesitated. She had expected an argument, maybe an order, not agreement. Agreed, yes. She studied him suspiciously. That easy, no. His eyes held hers. But you were right. Emma did not know what to do with that. Vincent Callahan admitting he was wrong felt almost more unsettling than Vincent Callahan threatening someone. She picked up her phone. At the door, she stopped. My mother used to apologize for those bills. Vincent did not speak. She thought she ruined my life because she got sick. Emma stared at the handle. I spent 14 months proving to myself that she had not. Her voice tightened. So when you erased them overnight, I did not feel rescued. Vincent's face lost whatever distance remained. Emma continued. I felt like someone had walked into the last thing I was still carrying for her and taken it out of my hands. Vincent said nothing for several seconds. Then he asked, Why did you carry it? Emma looked at him. Because she was my mother. The answer seemed to settle somewhere inside him. He nodded slowly. I understand that part. Emma believed him. That frightened her more than the argument. She left the study. Vincent remained standing behind the desk. He looked at the empty doorway long after she was gone. Later that afternoon, Emma returned to the library. She needed somewhere quiet. She had spent hours answering messages from work and trying to explain an absence she could not actually explain. Her manager believed there had been a family emergency. It was easier than saying a mafia organization had placed armed guards outside her bedroom. The library smelled like old leather and cedar. Emma wandered along the shelves. Her anger at Vincent had cooled but not vanished. The debt was gone. She could breathe. That was undeniable. A part of her hated how relieved she felt. Another part hated that Vincent had been the one to give her that relief. She stopped in front of a glass cabinet containing several old family ledgers. One volume caught her attention, dark green leather, silver marking stamped into the spine. Emma had seen that symbol before. She opened the cabinet. The book was heavier than expected. Inside were property records dating back almost 70 years. Callahan warehouse purchases, shipping contracts, insurance documents. Most were boring. Then Emma noticed a small symbol beside several entries. A wolf, not identical to Vincent's ring. Close. She turned the page. Another wolf, beside it a string of numbers. 17, 22, 9. Emma frowned. The sequence appeared again 12 pages later. Different numbers. Same symbol. Her professional instincts took over. She forgot the mansion, forgot Vincent, forgot Keene. She became an archivist again. Emma found paper and began writing down every sequence. 40 minutes later, she had 13. She arranged them by date. Something changed. The numbers were not random. They repeated according to warehouse locations. Boston Harbor, Charlestown, Quincy. 2 properties no longer owned by the Callahan family. Emma pulled another ledger from the cabinet. Then another. The same system appeared. The wolf did not indicate ownership. It marked something else. Breaking into the family archives, now Emma turned. Vincent stood near the door. She exhaled. You walk too quietly. You were concentrating. I found something. He approached. Emma pointed to the symbols. Do these mean anything to you? Vincent studied the page. Old Callahan mark, that is what I thought. You thought I no longer think that. She slid her notes toward him. These numbers appear beside specific assets. Not all of them. Only certain warehouses and accounts. Vincent's expression sharpened. Emma continued. I think this was a private indexing system, for what I do not know yet. Vincent pulled out a chair. Emma noticed the shift immediately. He was no longer casually curious. He was listening like a man in a meeting. She opened another ledger. Look here. She showed him 4 entries. Same warehouse, different years. The number changes each time the management contact changes. Vincent's eyes moved across the page. Emma turned another page. Here too. He leaned closer. Their shoulders almost touched. Emma noticed the clean scent of his shirt before she could stop herself. She focused on the paper. Who is TB? Vincent became completely still. Emma looked at him. The initials appeared beside 3 entries. TB Vincent's voice lost warmth. Thomas Burke. Who is he, my security chief? Emma looked down again. There are references to those initials for years. He worked for my father. How long? 18 years. Emma tapped the paper. He appears beside some of the same accounts marked with the wolf. Vincent took the ledger from her. His eyes moved faster now. He knew what he was looking for. Emma watched his jaw tighten. What he did not answer immediately. Instead, he pulled his ring from his pocket. Emma had rarely seen it off his hand. He placed it on the table. The black gold caught the afternoon light. Do you have a magnifying lens? Emma stared at him. In a library full of historic documents. He almost smiled. She opened a drawer and found one. Vincent held the ring beneath the lens. Emma leaned beside him. Inside the band was a microscopic sequence. She had known an engraving existed. She had never seen it closely. Numbers, letters, a tiny wolf. Emma's breath slowed. Write that down. Vincent looked at her. You are giving orders again. Please. She raised an eyebrow. That was painful for you. Extremely. Emma wrote the sequence, then compared it with the notes from the ledgers. Her eyes moved back and forth, once, twice. She felt the answer before she completely understood it. This section. She circled 4 characters. I have seen it. Vincent leaned forward. Where Emma flipped through the ledger. Her fingers moved quickly, then stopped. Thomas Burke's initials. The same 4-character sequence appeared beside them. Vincent stared at the page. The room changed. Emma could feel it. Not fear. Calculation. Could it be coincidence, she asked? No. How do you know? Because that sequence identifies one of my father's emergency channels. Emma looked at the ring, so Burke had access. Vincent closed the book. He should not have. The door opened. Jack entered. He took one look at Vincent's face. What happened? Vincent pushed the ledger toward him. Find Burke. Jack read the page. His expression hardened. He is on property. Keep him there. Emma looked between them. What are you thinking? Jack ignored her. Vincent did not. My father built several emergency financial channels in case the family businesses were compromised. I know about the reserve. Vincent glanced at her. Emma added, You explained enough. He continued. Burke was responsible for physical security under my father. He should never have had access to financial identifiers. Maybe your father gave it to him. Then there would be a record. Emma looked at the ledger. Unless your father did not know Burke had it. Jack closed the book. That is a dangerous assumption. Emma met his eyes. I did not say it was a fact. Jack looked at Vincent. Vincent was staring at Thomas Burke's initials. Check the Hawthorne, Vincent said. Jack frowned. What about it? Who changed the garage coverage schedule that night? Jack's expression changed. I will find out. He left. Emma watched Vincent. You think somebody inside your organization knew where you would be? I always thought that. But now you have a name. I have initials in an old book. That is not the same thing. Vincent looked at her. No, Emma could see how much effort it took him to remain still. This was a man who lived by certainty. Suspicion was harder. She closed the ledger carefully. Do not accuse him until you know. Vincent's eyes narrowed. You are advising me how to handle a potential traitor. I am advising you how archives work. He waited. You find a pattern, then you find evidence. Then you prove the pattern means what you think it means. Vincent looked at the books. And if I'm right, Emma's voice softened, then you will not need me to tell you what to do. Silence settled between them. That evening dinner was quieter than usual. Vincent had asked Emma to eat in the smaller dining room rather than alone. He claimed Mrs. Doyle had complained that Emma kept returning full plates. Emma suspected Mrs. Doyle had said nothing of the kind. Vincent barely touched his food. Emma watched him check his phone twice. You are terrible company tonight. I have been called worse. I believe that. He looked at her. Was that meant to improve my mood? No, it almost did. Emma picked up her glass. Tell me about your father. Vincent stopped. She immediately wondered if she had gone too far. Then he asked, why the ring? The ledgers. Burke. Everything seems to lead back to him. Vincent stared at the table. For a moment, Emma expected him to end the conversation. Instead, he said he hated expensive restaurants. Emma smiled slightly. That was not what I expected. He owned several. Of course he did. He said wealthy people became less intelligent when given linen napkins. Emma laughed. The sound changed Vincent's face. He looked toward her. Emma quieted. What nothing? Vincent. He picked up his glass. I have not heard someone laugh at a story about him in years. The honesty of it held her still. What was he like when you were little? Vincent's thumb moved slowly along the edge of the glass. Loud. Helpful. No. Emma smiled. Vincent continued. He sang badly. He cheated at cards. He knew every player on the Red Sox roster, and still claimed he did not care about baseball. Emma listened. He taught me to tie my shoes. The sentence came unexpectedly. Vincent looked toward the fire. He was wearing that ring. Emma said nothing. He put it in my hand once when I was 7. It was too large. I dropped it. A faint smile appeared. He made me search the entire kitchen. Was he angry? Now Vincent's expression changed. He told me you only learn the value of something after you understand what it feels like to lose it. Emma looked toward the ring on his hand. That stayed with you? Yes. She hesitated. Is that why you wear it partly? And the rest? Vincent's eyes met hers. Because when people look at me, they see the name, the business, my father's reputation. He touched the ring. When I look at it, I remember his hands. Emma felt something tighten in her chest. There was no mafia boss in that sentence, only a son. She reached toward him instinctively, then stopped before touching his hand. Vincent noticed. Neither of them moved. The silence between them became strangely intimate. Emma withdrew first. Her phone buzzed on the table. The moment broke. Vincent looked away. Emma checked the screen. Unknown number. A photograph loaded. She stared at it. Vincent noticed her face. What is it? Emma did not answer. He stood. She turned the phone toward him. The photograph showed Emma inside the library earlier that afternoon. She was seated at the table, head bent over the Callahan ledger. The picture had been taken from outside the window. Beneath it was one sentence. You returned the wrong thing. Vincent took the phone from her. Every trace of warmth disappeared from his face. He enlarged the photograph, examined the angle, the window, the reflection. Then another message appeared. A second image, closer. Emma walking through the greenhouse 2 days earlier. Vincent's hand tightened around the phone. Emma whispered, How did they get that? He did not answer. He was looking at something behind her. The windows, the dark grounds beyond them. Vincent crossed the room and pulled the curtains closed. He called Jack. Lock the estate. Emma stood. Vincent. He turned to her. Everyone stays inside. Nobody leaves without my authorization. You said you would stop making choices for me. This is the part where someone is literally threatening you. Emma opened her mouth, stopped. He had her there. Vincent handed back the phone. His voice was calm again, too calm. Stay where I can find you. Emma looked at the threatening message, then at him. I am not hiding in my room. I did not ask you to. Good. Vincent studied her for a second, then nodded. Stay in the library. Why? Because there are no exterior doors. Emma folded her arms. You really know how to make a woman feel comfortable. His eyes stayed on hers. "I am not trying to make you comfortable." For once, she understood exactly what he meant. He was trying to keep her alive. Vincent left the room. Emma followed as far as the hallway. Security men were already moving through the mansion. Doors locked, radios crackled. Jack appeared at the far end of the corridor. He approached Vincent quickly. I checked the Hawthorne. Vincent stopped. Emma stayed several feet away. Jack lowered his voice, but not enough. The garage coverage schedule was changed 6 hours before the meeting. By who Jack looked at him. Burke authorized it. Silence. Vincent's face became unreadable. "Where is he?" Jack's jaw tightened. "No one has seen him since 4. Vincent looked toward the dark windows. Emma felt the entire house shift around them. Not physically. Something worse. The danger was no longer waiting outside the gates. Someone who had been trusted inside them had already opened the door. The storm reached the estate shortly after midnight. By then, the snow had erased the road beyond the gates. Wind struck the mansion in long, violent bursts, rattling the old windows and bending the bare trees until their branches scraped against the stone walls. Emma could not sleep. She sat in the library with a blanket around her shoulders, staring at the photograph on her phone. "You returned the wrong thing." She had read the sentence so many times that the words no longer looked real. Outside the library, armed men moved through the corridor. Every few minutes, a radio crackled. A door opened. Boots crossed marble. Then silence returned. Vincent had ordered a complete sweep of the property. Thomas Burke was missing. No vehicle had left through the main gate. No camera showed him crossing the outer perimeter. He had simply disappeared. That should have been impossible. Emma had spent enough time in the mansion to understand that almost nothing happened here without someone seeing it, which meant Burke had not escaped the security system. He understood it. Maybe better than anyone. The library door opened. Emma looked up. Vincent entered alone. His suit jacket was gone. A black shoulder holster crossed his shirt. He carried a pistol in one hand. Emma's eyes moved toward the weapon. "You really know how to calm a room." Vincent closed the door. "Jack is checking the service tunnels." "There are service tunnels. There are things about this house I did not think you needed to know." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Your record with deciding what I need to know is not especially strong." Under different circumstances, he might have answered. Tonight, he did not. He crossed to the window. The curtains were already drawn. Vincent touched the edge of one and looked through the smallest possible opening. Nothing outside but snow. Emma watched him. "You think Burke is still here?" "I think he knew the camera schedule. That is not an answer. It is the only one I have." Vincent released the curtain. Emma saw the tension in his shoulders. He had been cold before, controlled, even frightening. This was different. This was personal. "Did you trust him?" Vincent remained facing the window. "He was at my father's funeral." Emma said nothing. "He carried the coffin." That answered everything. Vincent turned. "He taught me how to clear this house if someone breached the front gate." Emma looked toward the door. "And now he knows exactly how you would defend it." "Yes." The words settled between them. Emma pulled the blanket tighter. "Maybe he ran." Vincent's eyes met hers. "He would have taken money. Maybe he did." "The accounts have not moved." "What about Keen?" Vincent walked toward the fireplace. "Raymond does not buy loyalty the way most men do." Emma waited. "He buys resentment." "What does that mean?" "It means he finds the part of a man that believes he deserves more, then keeps feeding it until betrayal feels justified." Emma thought about Burke. 18 years inside the Callahan organization, close enough to Patrick to understand private systems, trusted enough to control security. What would Burke resent? Vincent stared into the fire. "My father passed him over." "For what leadership?" Emma understood. "Your father chose you." Vincent's face hardened. "I was his son. That does not mean Burke believed you deserved it." "No." A sudden burst of static came through Vincent's radio. Jack's voice. "Vincent." Vincent lifted the device. "Go. We found the east maintenance door open." Vincent's entire posture changed. "Who opened it?" "Manual override. Burke has his code." Vincent reached for Emma. "Move." She stood immediately. "What happened?" He opened the library door. "Someone opened the estate from inside." Men were already running through the hallway. The lights flickered once, then went out. Complete darkness swallowed the mansion. Emma froze. Vincent's hand closed around her wrist. "Stay with me." Emergency lights came on several seconds later. Dim red illumination flooded the corridor. Then the first explosion hit. The sound seemed to tear through the house from the ground upward. Emma screamed and dropped instinctively. Glass shattered somewhere below. The floor trembled. A second blast followed from the western side of the property. Alarms began screaming. Vincent pulled Emma to her feet. Now! Gunfire erupted downstairs. Not one weapon. Many. Short, controlled bursts. Then shouting. Emma's body reacted before her mind could understand. Her hands went cold. Her legs felt weak. Vincent pulled her close enough that she could hear him over the alarms. "Look at me." Emma did. "Do exactly what I say." She nodded. "No matter what you hear, you stay behind me." Another burst of gunfire echoed from the main hall. Vincent turned toward two security men. East stairwell. One of them shook his head. Compromised. North corridor. Unknown. Vincent cursed under his breath. Jack appeared from the darkness with blood along one side of his face. Emma stared. "Are you hurt? Not mine." Jack looked at Vincent. Keene sent at least 15 through the maintenance access, maybe more. Burke gone. Raymond. No confirmation. Vincent looked toward the staircase. A man shouted below. Then came a sharp crack. Silence. Jack raised his weapon. "We need to move her." Vincent nodded. Emma hated the way they spoke as if she were cargo. Tonight she understood why. Vincent turned to her. "Bunker." Emma remembered the steel door he had shown her 2 days earlier while explaining emergency procedures. It sat beneath the oldest section of the mansion. Concrete walls, independent power, air filtration, food, medical supplies. A fortress inside the fortress. They moved. Jack led. Vincent stayed behind Emma. 2 guards covered the rear. The corridor ahead was filled with smoke. Emma could smell burning wood, gunpowder, something metallic. They reached the main staircase and stopped. Bodies lay below. Emma saw one man in a Callahan suit, another in black tactical clothing. Her stomach turned. Vincent placed his hand against the side of her face. "Do not look down." She looked at him instead. His face was completely calm. Too calm. Emma realized this was not courage. This was familiarity. He knew how to exist inside violence. That frightened her more than the gunfire. Jack checked the stairwell. No. Vincent frowned. What movement below? They stepped back just before bullets tore through the wooden railing. Emma gasped. Vincent shoved her against the wall and covered her body with his. Wood splintered around them. One of the guards fired down the staircase. Jack shouted, "Back!" Vincent pulled Emma into the side corridor. She stumbled, caught herself. They ran. The mansion she had spent days exploring had become almost unrecognizable under emergency lighting. Every doorway looked like a threat. Every shadow seemed occupied. They reached a junction near the old dining room. Jack stopped. "The bunker corridor is through the west wing." Vincent looked toward the smoke. "West wing is breached. There is no other way." Emma stared at the wall ahead. Something about it felt familiar. Not the wall, the layout. She had seen it on paper, in the archive. Wait. Vincent looked at her. What the old floor plan? Emma. There was another passage. Jack glanced at Vincent. Emma pointed toward the lower corridor. The house had servant access before the renovation. It connected the wine cellar to the east foundation. Vincent frowned. That was sealed. No. How do you know? Because the restoration record said covered not removed. Gunfire erupted somewhere behind them. Emma spoke faster. The entrance should be near the old pantry. Vincent stared at her for 1 second, then made the decision. "Show me." They ran toward the kitchen wing. Smoke thickened near the ceiling. A sprinkler had activated somewhere, sending water across the marble. Emma almost slipped. Vincent caught her by the waist, careful. They reached the old pantry. Emma searched the wall. Shelves, cabinets, brick. Nothing. Jack looked toward the hall. "We do not have time." Emma pressed her palms against the shelves. "Help me move this." Vincent grabbed the cabinet. Jack joined him. The heavy unit scraped across the floor. Behind it was a narrow wooden panel. Emma touched the edge, found an old recessed latch. The panel opened. Darkness waited behind it. Jack shone a flashlight inside. A narrow stone passage descended beneath the house. Vincent looked at Emma. She breathed hard. "Told you." For half a second, despite everything, something almost like pride appeared in his eyes. Then Jack raised his weapon. "I go first." They descended. The passage smelled of dust and damp stone. The ceiling was low enough that Vincent had to duck in places. Emma stayed between him and Jack. The sounds of the attack became muffled behind layers of old foundation. For several minutes there was nothing but breathing and footsteps. Then Jack stopped. A light appeared ahead, not theirs. Vincent pulled Emma behind him. A man stepped into the passage. Thomas Burke. Emma recognized him immediately. She had seen him twice during her first days at the estate. Late 50s, gray hair, broad shoulders, the kind of face built for trust. Now he held a pistol pointed directly at Vincent. Jack raised his weapon. Burke smiled. "Do not." Another man appeared behind him, then another. Keen men. Jack calculated the distance. Too narrow, too little cover. Burke looked at Vincent. "You grew into the ring." Vincent's face changed. Not visibly enough for anyone who did not know him. Emma knew him now. She saw it. Pain, then rage. "You should have left," Vincent said. Burke smiled. "I spent 18 years waiting to hear you say something worth listening to." Vincent's voice stayed calm. "You sold the Hawthorne meeting." "Yes." "You opened the east gate." "Yes." Vincent stepped forward slightly. Emma caught his sleeve. He stopped. Burke noticed. His eyes moved to Emma. "So that is her?" Vincent's body became still. Burke laughed softly. I wondered what kind of woman could make Vincent Callahan forget his own rules. "She has nothing to do with this. That is what Patrick said about your mother." Vincent's eyes darkened. Burke enjoyed the reaction. Emma felt Vincent's arm tense beneath her fingers. Burke continued. "Your father always thought family made him strong." Vincent stared at him. "You gave Keene his location." Burke said nothing. That silence was confession. For the first time, Vincent looked shaken. "You killed him." "No." Burke tilted his head. "Raymond's men killed him. You gave them the schedule. I gave them an opportunity." Emma watched Vincent absorb the words. 6 years of grief rearranged itself inside him. Burke continued. "Patrick found discrepancies in the emergency accounts. He was going to remove me. You were stealing. I was taking what I earned." Vincent's voice dropped. "You betrayed a man who trusted you. He chose a son who had done nothing over a man who gave him 18 years. Vincent stepped forward. "You think this was about leadership? It was about respect." "No." Vincent's expression became almost pitying. "It was about greed." Burke's face changed. Vincent saw it. "You spent 6 years telling yourself you were overlooked." His voice remained quiet. "Because admitting you sold my father for money would require you to know exactly what you are." Burke raised the gun slightly. "Careful." Vincent did not move. "You did not kill my father because he loved my mother." Burke's expression hardened. "You killed him because you were afraid he would discover what you stole." Something shifted in Vincent. Emma felt it. For years he had believed affection had created the weakness that killed Patrick. Now the truth stood 10 feet away holding a gun. It had never been love. It had been betrayal. One of Burke's men moved forward. Jack immediately adjusted his aim. Burke glanced at him. "Put the gun down, Sullivan." Jack did not. Burke smiled. Still loyal. "Try it sometime." The man behind Burke stepped closer. The corridor suddenly felt even narrower. Emma looked around. Stone wall, old shelving, a wooden table pushed against the passage. On it sat rusted tools left from some forgotten renovation. A hammer, a chisel, a long brass-handled knife used to open packing crates. Burke's eyes returned to Vincent. "Give me the ring." Vincent slowly lifted his hand. The black gold band caught the flashlight. "You cannot use it. I do not need to." Burke smiled. "Raymond only needs proof of the accounts." Vincent understood. The ring was leverage, nothing more. Burke extended his hand. Vincent started to remove it. Emma saw the tiny change in Jack's stance. Burke saw it too. His gun moved toward Jack. Everything happened at once. Jack fired. The passage exploded with sound. Burke's men returned fire. Vincent grabbed Emma and pulled her behind the old table. Stone dust burst from the wall. Jack dropped behind the support column. Emma covered her ears. Vincent fired over the table. One keen man fell. The other disappeared behind Burke. "Stay down." Vincent moved to the side. Emma grabbed his shirt. "Do not." He looked at her. There was no time to argue. Burke came around the edge of the table. He moved faster than Emma expected. His hand caught the back of her sweater. He dragged her upright. Emma screamed. A gun pressed against her ribs. Vincent froze. Burke pulled Emma against his chest. Jack stopped firing. Silence returned so abruptly Emma could hear her own breathing. Burke smiled over her shoulder. "There." His voice was almost gentle. "Now you understand your father." Vincent's pistol remained raised. "Let her go. Put it down. Burke, down." Emma looked at Vincent. She had never seen fear on his face before. Not at the gate. Not when Keene threatened her. Not while bullets tore through the mansion. Now she saw it. Burke saw it too. That pleased him. "You spent all these years telling everyone you had no weakness." Vincent slowly lowered the gun. Burke laughed. "Turns out you were just waiting to find one." Emma felt the pistol against her side. She forced herself to breathe. Her eyes dropped. The old table was beside her. The brass-handled crate knife rested near the edge. 6 inches away. Maybe 7. Burke's attention stayed on Vincent. "Kick the gun over." Vincent did. The pistol scraped across the floor. Burke watched it. That was enough. Emma reached. Her fingers closed around the brass handle. She drove the blade backward with everything she had. Burke screamed. The knife buried itself into his forearm. The gun fired. The bullet struck stone. Vincent moved. He crossed the distance before Burke could recover. One hand caught Emma and pulled her aside. The other seized Burke's injured arm. Burke swung at him. Vincent drove him into the wall. Hard. Burke tried to reach for the gun. Vincent struck him again. Jack fired behind them. The final Keene man collapsed. Burke punched Vincent across the face. Vincent barely reacted. He hit Burke once, twice, then wrapped a hand around his throat. Burke's face reddened. Vincent pressed him against the stone. Emma saw something terrible enter Vincent's expression. He could kill Burke. He wanted to. Burke gasped. "Do it." Vincent tightened his grip. Emma stepped closer. "Vincent." He did not hear her. "Vincent." His eyes finally moved to hers. Emma shook her head. Not because Burke deserved mercy, because Vincent deserved a choice that was not made by rage. For several seconds, nothing moved. Then Vincent released him. Burke collapsed onto the stone floor. Jack kicked his weapon away. "Get up." Burke coughed. Vincent looked down at him. "You carried my father's coffin." Burke said nothing. Vincent's voice became cold. "You are going to live long enough to remember that." Jack pulled Burke to his feet. A radio transmission interrupted the moment. Heavy gunfire. Then a voice. "Jack, we have Raymond in the north wing." Vincent took his pistol from the floor. Emma looked at him. "You are not going back. Yes, you just found the bunker route, and Raymond is inside my house." "Vincent." He looked at her. Emma saw the answer before he spoke. This was not pride. It was responsibility. His men were still fighting. People were still dying. Vincent turned to Jack. "Take Burke to the bunker. Lock him inside the secondary holding room." Jack nodded. Vincent looked at Emma. "You go with him." "No. Emma, you promised to stop making choices for me." His jaw tightened. "Not tonight. You told me to stay where you could find me. I found you, and I am staying with you. That is not bravery. I know." Her voice shook. "I am terrified." Vincent stared at her. Emma continued. "But I am not walking into a bunker while you go upstairs alone." Jack looked between them. "This is touching, but people are shooting at us." Vincent cursed quietly. He took Emma's hand. "Stay behind me." They moved back through the passage. Burke remained with 2 surviving Callahan guards who arrived from the lower corridor. Jack led Vincent and Emma through another exit beneath the old wine cellar. The main house was worse than before. Smoke filled the ceiling. Broken glass covered the floor. Water sprayed from a ruptured pipe. They moved toward the north wing. A body lay near the doorway. Vincent checked the man. Alive. Barely. He called for medical support. Emma watched him press a hand against the guard's wound before another man took over. That small action stayed with her. Vincent did not treat his people like pieces on a board. Maybe that was why they followed him. They reached the grand foyer. A voice echoed from the upper balcony. "Vincent." Everyone stopped. Raymond Keene stood above them. He was older than Emma expected. Early 50s, silver at the temples, elegant black coat, no tactical clothing, no mask. He looked like a man arriving at an expensive restaurant. Two armed men stood beside him. Raymond looked at Emma, then smiled. "So that is the archivist?" Vincent stepped in front of her. Raymond laughed. "Still doing that. Doing what pretending your body is a wall." Vincent raised his weapon. Raymond did the same. "You know what I admire most about you?" Raymond asked. Vincent said nothing. "You spent 6 years convincing Boston there was nothing you cared about." His eyes shifted toward Emma. All it took was one woman returning a piece of jewelry. Vincent's face remained still. Raymond continued. "Patrick made the same mistake." "No." Vincent's answer was immediate. Raymond's smile faded slightly. Vincent looked up at him. "My father's mistake was trusting Burke." Raymond understood. "So he told you he did not need to." Vincent stepped forward. "Your story was always that my father died because he cared too much." His voice sharpened. "You needed me to believe that." Raymond shrugged. "It kept you alone." Emma looked at Vincent. That sentence landed. Raymond smiled again. A man without family is easy to predict. Vincent's grip tightened. "You misunderstood me, did I? Yes." Vincent glanced at Emma, then back at Raymond. "I was predictable before." Gunfire erupted. Raymond fired first. Vincent shoved Emma behind a marble column. Jack returned fire. One of Raymond's men fell. The other moved along the balcony. Emma crouched low. Bullets shattered a chandelier above them. Crystal rained across the floor. Vincent fired twice. Raymond disappeared behind the railing. Jack shouted, "Left side." Vincent moved. Emma saw the second gunman before he did. "Vincent." He turned. The man fired. Vincent jerked backward. For one horrible second, Emma thought the bullet had entered his chest. Then she saw his shoulder. Blood spread through the white fabric. Vincent fired once. The gunman fell. "Vincent." Emma ran toward him. He caught her before she reached the open floor. "I am fine. You are bleeding." "Not now." Raymond appeared at the far staircase. He was retreating. Jack and 2 Callahan guards pursued him. Vincent tried to follow. His injured arm failed. Emma grabbed him. "No." He looked toward Raymond, then toward Emma. His breathing had changed. Too shallow, too fast. Blood ran down his hand. Emma pressed her palm against the wound. Vincent flinched. "We are going to the bunker," he almost argued. Then his knees weakened. Emma caught part of his weight. "Do not you dare." Vincent looked at her. "I was not planning anything." "Good." She pulled his uninjured arm around her shoulders. 2 guards helped them toward the lower corridor. The bunker door opened. Emma got Vincent inside. The heavy steel door closed behind them. For the first time since the attack began, the world went quiet. No alarms, no gunfire, no shouting, only Vincent's breathing. He leaned against the wall. Emma opened the medical cabinet. Her hands shook so badly that she dropped the first package of gauze. "Emma, do not." She picked it up. "Do not tell me you are fine. I was going to tell you where the trauma kit is. I found it." She came back to him. "Shirt." Vincent looked at her. "Take it off." Despite the blood loss, one eyebrow lifted. "You usually buy me dinner first." Emma stared at him, then laughed once. It broke into something dangerously close to a sob. "You are bleeding all over the floor. It is an expensive floor, Vincent." "All right." He removed the shirt with difficulty. Emma stopped breathing for a second. Scars covered his torso. Thin, pale lines. 2 round marks near his ribs. Another beneath his collarbone. A long scar along his side. A history written in damaged skin. Emma looked at him. "How are you still alive?" Vincent leaned his head against the wall. "Practice." She pressed gauze to the shoulder wound. He hissed, "Sorry, do not be." Emma pressed harder. Her hands were stained red now. The sight brought back hospital rooms, her mother, machines. The helplessness of watching someone you loved hurt while professionals spoke calmly around you. Her breath caught. Vincent noticed. "You are shaking. Men tried to kill us." "I noticed. You were shot." "I noticed that too." Emma looked at him. Tears filled her eyes. "I found a ring." Vincent said nothing. "I found one stupid ring on the ground." Her voice cracked. "I was worried about rent, hospital bills, whether my car would survive winter." She wiped her face with her wrist. "I did not know people like Raymond Keene existed outside television." Vincent's good hand reached toward her. He stopped before touching her. Emma noticed the hesitation. He remembered. He was asking without words. She moved closer. Vincent touched her wrist gently. "I am sorry." Emma stared at him. "For what, all of it? You did not put the ring in that alley." "No." "You did not make me pick it up." "No." "Then stop apologizing for things you did not control." Vincent looked almost amused. "That is advice I am unlikely to follow." Emma sat beside him. For a while, neither spoke. The bunker monitor showed fragments of the fight outside. Jack's men moving through the house, Raymond disappearing across the north grounds, security vehicles arriving through the snow. Vincent watched none of it. He looked down at his ring, then slowly removed it. Emma saw him studying the silver wolf. "My entire life I thought my father died because he loved my mother." Emma waited. He changed his schedule for her. His voice was quiet. "I use that to explain everything." Vincent turned the ring between his fingers. If he had not gone to see her, he would have lived. "You do not know that. I thought I did." He looked toward the steel door. "Bert gave Raymond the schedule because my father found out he was stealing." Emma said nothing. Love did not kill him. No. Vincent swallowed. Betrayal did. The admission sounded painful. Emma touched his good hand. This time, Vincent did not hesitate. His fingers closed around hers. "I spent 6 years making sure no one could become important enough to hurt me." Emma looked at him. "Did it work?" Vincent's eyes met hers. "No." He lifted the ring. "I tore Boston apart looking for this, I know. I thought losing it was the worst thing that could happen." He took her hand, placed the ring into her palm. Emma looked down. The black gold seemed almost black under the bunker lights. "Vincent." "Raymond came into my house for this." He closed her fingers around the ring. "Tonight I would have given him every dollar attached to it if it bought you 5 minutes. Emma's throat tightened. Vincent continued, "That is not something I know how to live with." She looked at him. "You do not have to know tonight." His eyes stayed on hers. "I spent my whole life believing fear was proof that something had power over you." Emma moved closer. "Sometimes it just means you have something worth losing." Vincent looked at her for a long time. Then he laughed quietly. Not because it was funny, because the truth had finally cornered him. "You are my weakness, Emma." She shook her head. "No." His expression changed. Emma placed his hand against her chest. "You keep using that word because it makes this easier for you. What word would you use?" She looked into his eyes. "Choice." Vincent said nothing. "You chose to come for me. Yes, I chose to stay. You should not have." "But I did." Emma closed her fingers around the ring. "You keep thinking caring about someone takes your power away." Her voice softened. "Maybe it means you finally have a reason to use it for something besides survival." Vincent watched her. The coldness she had seen the first night was gone. No command, no calculation, no carefully built distance. Only a man sitting wounded against a steel wall, terrified by something he could not threaten, buy, or control. Emma leaned closer. Vincent did not move. He gave her room to stop. She did not. Emma kissed him. Slowly at first, almost uncertainly. Vincent's hand rose to the side of her face. He held her as if touching her required more care than handling a weapon. The kiss deepened, not desperate, not possessive, relieved. When they separated, their foreheads remained together. Vincent closed his eyes. Emma whispered, "You are still bleeding. I was having a moment. You can have it after I bandage you." A faint smile touched his mouth. "Yes, ma'am." Emma began wrapping the wound. On the monitor behind them, Jack appeared in the north courtyard. 2 guards dragged Raymond Keene through the snow in handcuffs. Vincent saw him. His expression changed, but not back into the man Emma had first met. The anger was still there. The power was still there. So was something else now. He looked down at Emma's hand. His father's ring rested in her palm. For the first time since Patrick Callahan died, Vincent did not reach for it. He let Emma hold it. Emma was still holding the ring when the bunker door unlocked. The sound was heavy enough to make both of them turn. Vincent reached for the pistol beside him before the steel door had opened more than a few inches. Jack Sullivan appeared on the other side. There was blood on his collar and a cut beneath his left eye. He looked at Vincent sitting shirtless against the wall, then at Emma kneeling beside him, then at their joined hands. Jack took in the entire scene without changing expression. "Should I come back?" Emma pulled her hand away. Vincent did not look embarrassed. "No." Jack stepped inside. "We have the house." Vincent's face immediately changed. The warmth disappeared beneath concentration. Losses: 3 dead, 7 wounded, 2 seriously. Vincent looked down. Emma saw his jaw tighten. Keen alive. Burke alive. Vincent nodded once. "Good." Jack glanced at Emma. Raymond tried to reach the north gate. Snow slowed him down. He made it about 200 yards before one of our trucks caught him. Vincent pushed himself upright. Emma immediately placed a hand against his chest. "No." He looked at her. "I need to see my men. You need to stay conscious. I am conscious, barely." Jack leaned against the door. "She has a point." Vincent gave him a cold look. Jack shrugged. "I enjoy living." Emma tightened the bandage around Vincent's shoulder. He winced. "Doctor first," she said, "then your men." Vincent looked toward Jack. Jack nodded. "Medical team is already inside." Vincent finally stopped arguing. Emma helped him to his feet. His weight shifted heavily for 1 second. Then he straightened. Even wounded, pale, and covered in dried blood, Vincent somehow managed to look as if the room belonged to him. Emma wondered if that was something men like him learned, or something they were born knowing. Jack opened the door. The corridor outside smelled of smoke. The farther they moved through the mansion, the clearer the damage became. A section of the western hallway had collapsed. Broken furniture covered the floor. Several windows were gone completely. Snow had blown into the foyer and was already melting across the marble. Men moved quietly through the wreckage. Some carried weapons. Others carried medical bags. No one was celebrating. Emma understood why. The Callahans had survived. That did not mean they had won without cost. A young security guard sat against the wall while a medic wrapped his arm. When he saw Vincent, he tried to stand. Vincent stopped him. "Sit." The man obeyed. "You did good tonight, Ryan." The guard swallowed. "Thank you, sir." Vincent put his good hand briefly on the man's shoulder, then kept moving. Emma watched the exchange. There was no audience for it. No performance. Vincent remembered the guard's name. That mattered to her. Near the main staircase, 2 bodies had been covered. Vincent stopped. One of the dead men was older. Emma recognized him from the gate. He had been there the day she arrived. Vincent stared down at the covered body for several seconds. "What was his name?" Emma asked softly. "Daniel Mercer." "How long was he with you?" 11 years. Vincent looked toward Jack. "His wife knows not yet. I will tell her." Jack nodded. Emma looked at Vincent. Yes, tonight, yes." There was no hesitation. Emma said nothing more. A doctor met them in a ground-floor sitting room that had been turned into an emergency treatment area. Vincent objected when the doctor wanted to examine the wound. Emma gave him one look. He sat down. The bullet had passed through the upper shoulder. No major artery had been struck. No bone had shattered. Vincent needed stitches, antibiotics, and rest. The doctor emphasized the final word. Vincent ignored it. Emma did not. When the physician finished, Vincent stood almost immediately. Jack sighed. I knew that speech was useless. Vincent pulled on a clean black shirt but left his injured arm out of the sleeve. "Where is Keen Wine Cellar?" Emma looked at Jack. "You keep prisoners in the wine cellar, only rude guests." Vincent almost smiled. Then his face settled again. "Burke, separate room." Vincent walked toward the door. Emma followed. He stopped. "You do not need to see this." She folded her arms. That sounded suspiciously like a decision. Vincent held her gaze, then stepped aside. "Your choice." The words were small. Emma noticed anyway. They descended into the cellar. The air was cool and smelled of oak. Raymond Keene sat in a wooden chair near the center of the room. His hands were restrained. One side of his face was bruised. His expensive coat was gone. Without his men, his weapons, and the balcony above Vincent's foyer, Raymond looked older, smaller, still dangerous. His eyes found Emma first, then Vincent. He smiled. So the archivist survived. Vincent stopped several feet away. So did you. Raymond looked at the bandage visible beneath Vincent's shirt. Barely. Vincent said nothing. Raymond leaned back. You know your father would have ended this already. Emma felt Jack move slightly behind them. Vincent remained still. That is the difference between my father and me. Raymond studied him. You think keeping me alive makes you merciful? No. Vincent's answer was quiet. It makes you useful. Raymond's smile faded. Vincent continued. Burke kept records. That was a lie. Emma knew because she had seen surprise flicker across Jack's face. Raymond did not. His expression changed. Vincent saw it. So there are records. Raymond recovered quickly. You are fishing, maybe. Vincent stepped closer. Thomas sold Patrick Callahan's schedule to you 6 years ago. Raymond said nothing. He gave you internal security codes. Silence. He sold you the Hawthorne route. Raymond's eyes hardened. Vincent leaned slightly toward him. And tonight he opened my house. You have always been good at assembling facts after they stop being useful. No. Vincent glanced toward Emma. I had help. Raymond followed his gaze. Something bitter entered his expression. All this because she found a ring. Emma spoke before Vincent could. No. Raymond looked at her. All this happened because men like you thought a ring mattered more than people. Jack's mouth twitched. Vincent said nothing. Raymond laughed. You think you understand him now? Emma held his stare. I understand enough. You understand what he showed you. Raymond looked toward Vincent. Ask him how many men disappeared so he could sit at the head of that table. Vincent did not defend himself. Emma noticed. Raymond continued. Ask him what happens when Boston smells weakness. Emma looked at Vincent. He met her eyes. No apology, no excuse, only the truth of what he was. Emma turned back to Raymond. I know he is dangerous. Raymond smiled. Then you are smarter than you look. I also know you broke into his home with armed men because you could not stand the idea that he had something you could not control. The smile disappeared. Emma stepped closer. You keep calling me his weakness because you need that to be true. Raymond's gaze sharpened. What would you call yourself? Emma thought of the bunker. Vincent bleeding against the wall, the ring in her palm. His choice. The cellar went quiet. Vincent did not move, but Emma could feel him looking at her. Raymond's expression became contemptuous. Romantic? No. Emma shook her head. Accurate. Vincent finally spoke. We are done. Jack moved toward Raymond. Vincent turned away. Raymond called after him. You cannot keep this city forever. Vincent stopped at the stairs. He did not turn. Maybe not. His voice carried easily through the cellar, but you will never have it. Then he walked upstairs. Emma followed. At the top, Vincent waited for her. For several seconds, he simply looked at her. What Emma asked. His choice. She felt heat rise in her face. You were listening. I was standing 6 feet away. I was busy. Vincent stepped closer. Emma. Something in his voice made her stop smiling. Thank you. She looked at him. For what? For seeing me clearly and staying anyway. Emma's expression softened. I have not decided where I am staying. Vincent went still. She did not mean it cruelly, but the words mattered. Emma touched his good arm. You told me I had choices. You do. Then I need to make them. Vincent nodded. It was not easy for him. She could see that. But he nodded. All right. The following morning, the storm moved out over the Atlantic. Sunlight revealed the damage. The estate looked almost unreal under fresh snow. One wing of the mansion was blackened. Security vehicles filled the circular drive. Workers covered broken windows with temporary panels. Inside the house felt quieter than before. Not empty, mourning. Vincent spent the morning with families. Emma did not follow him. She watched from a distance as Daniel Mercer's wife arrived. Vincent met her personally at the entrance. The woman struck him across the face. Emma froze. The guards did not move. Vincent did not move either. Daniel's wife began crying. Vincent let her hit his chest with both fists. Then he held her while she collapsed against him. Emma turned away. Some moments did not belong to witnesses. Later, Jack found Emma in the library. She was repairing the damaged green ledger. "You are working. I needed to do something with my hands." Jack sat across from her. "You saved his life." Emma kept her eyes on the binding. "He saved mine first. That is not what I meant." She looked up. Jack seemed exhausted, older than he had a week earlier. "What did you mean he listens to you?" Emma almost laughed. "Vincent does not listen to anyone. He listens to you and argues afterward. That is not the same thing. For Vincent, it is practically obedience." Emma smiled despite herself. Jack leaned back. "I was wrong about you." She raised an eyebrow. "That must be painful, almost fatal." "Why did you distrust me so much? Because nobody is that decent." Emma looked down at the ledger. "That is a depressing thing to believe. It has kept me alive." Emma thought of Vincent. "You two really found each other." Jack smiled faintly. Then his expression became serious. "Do not let him turn protecting you into owning your life." Emma studied him. That is surprising advice from his underboss. "I knew Patrick." Jack looked toward the window. He loved people loudly. Vincent learned to love by locking doors. Emma said nothing. "He is trying. I know. That does not mean you have to accept every mistake because he is trying. I know that too." Jack stood. "Good." At the door, Emma stopped him. "What happens to Burke?" Jack looked back. "That depends on how useful he becomes." And Keen, same answer. Emma did not ask for details. There were parts of Vincent's world she could understand without needing to enter them completely. That afternoon, Vincent asked her to meet him in his study. The room had been cleaned. One bullet hole remained in the wooden frame near the window. Emma suspected Vincent had intentionally left it. On the desk sat 3 folders. She looked at them. "What are those options?" Emma stared at him. He gestured toward the chair. She sat. Vincent opened the first folder. "A secured apartment in Beacon Hill. Lease is already available. It would be in your name." Emma opened her mouth. Vincent lifted a hand. "I have not signed anything." She closed her mouth. "Progress." He opened the second. "Security protection if you want it. Not inside your apartment. Not following you into work unless there is an active threat. Also optional, yes." Emma looked impressed. This must be exhausting. "It is." She almost smiled. Vincent opened the third folder. "Your position at the Preservation Center is still available. Your manager believes you had a family emergency." "That part is technically true." Vincent ignored that. "I spoke through an attorney. Nothing connects your absence to me." Emma looked at him. "You called my employer an attorney did." She raised an eyebrow. Vincent exhaled. "You can be angry later. I am deciding." "Fair." Emma looked through the documents. There was something else beneath them. A letter. She unfolded it. A compensation agreement. She read the number, then looked up sharply. "No." Vincent remained calm. "You were placed in danger because of property belonging to me. I found the ring. The ring was mine. I am not taking this much money. You lost wages. Not that many wages. It covers relocation and future security." I said no. Vincent leaned back. A week earlier he might have ordered, argued, transferred the money anyway. Now he looked at her. Then no. Emma waited. "That is it. That is it." She narrowed her eyes. "You are getting suspiciously reasonable." I was shot. "Did the bullet improve your personality, possibly?" Emma laughed. Vincent watched her. The sound did something to him every time. She could see it now. Emma folded the compensation agreement and returned it. "I want my job back. Then you have it. I want my apartment." Vincent's expression tightened. "My actual apartment. The window does not close." Emma stared. "How do you know about the window I had the property assessed?" "Vincent, I did not buy it. You thought about buying it. I think about buying most problems." Emma covered her face with one hand. He almost smiled. She lowered it. "I am going home." Vincent's eyes changed. Not anger, fear. He hid it quickly. Emma reached across the desk. "I am not leaving you." His gaze moved to her hand. "But I am leaving this house." He was quiet. "I need my own front door." Vincent nodded. "My own work, yes. My own decisions, yes." Emma squeezed his fingers. "And if I choose to come back here, it needs to be because I want to." Vincent turned his hand and held hers. "All right. You hate this. Yes, she laughed. At least you are honest. I have recently been informed honesty has value. Emma looked at him. By who, some archivist? Sounds intelligent, infuriating, still intelligent. Vincent brought her hand to his lips. He kissed her knuckles. Emma's breathing changed. Go home, he said. She searched his face. You mean that? No. She smiled. But I mean that you can. 3 days later, Emma walked back into her apartment. Nothing had changed. The radiator still knocked. The kitchen window still leaked. Mail covered the floor beneath the slot. For a moment she stood inside the doorway and cried. Not because she was sad, because the apartment was still hers. She opened the curtains, made coffee, called her manager. Then she went back to work. The first day felt strange. No guards in the archive room, no guns in the hallway, no Vincent appearing silently behind her while she handled books. At lunch, her phone vibrated. One message, Vincent, did you eat? Emma stared at it. She typed back, do not start. 3 dots appeared, then vanished. A minute later, understood. Emma smiled at the screen. A second message arrived. For the record, that was not an order. She laughed aloud. Her coworker looked over. Emma put the phone away. That evening, Vincent was waiting outside the preservation center. Not in an armored convoy. One black car. He stood beside it with his injured arm in a sling. Emma stopped on the steps. You are technically outside my workplace. I noticed. Are you checking whether I ate number good? I brought dinner. Emma stared at him. Vincent lifted a paper bag. Grilled cheese. She walked down the steps. You have a chef trained in Paris. He is furious. Emma took the bag. That makes it better. They ate in the car overlooking the harbor. No armed men inside. No marble walls. No crisis. For Vincent, it might have been the strangest evening of his adult life. Emma thought it might also have been his happiest. Weeks passed. Raymond Keene's organization fractured without him. Several of his businesses were seized after financial records reached federal investigators through channels Emma knew better than to ask about. Thomas Burke's hidden accounts were discovered. So were communications connecting him to Patrick Callahan's murder. Vincent never told Emma exactly what happened to either man after that. Emma never asked him to lie. Their relationship grew in the spaces where both of them could remain honest. Sometimes Vincent stayed at Emma's apartment. He hated the radiator. He hated the mattress. He especially hated the broken window. Emma caught him measuring the frame one Sunday morning. Put the tape measure down. It is 30 degrees outside. It is my window. It is an attack on basic engineering. Vincent. He put the tape measure away. The following week, Emma repaired it herself. Vincent stood beside her holding tools. He looked deeply offended. You could have let me pay someone. I could have. You enjoy this. Very much. He handed her a screwdriver. 3 months after the attack, the Callahan Historical Foundation opened its first restoration project. The idea began with the old ledgers. Emma had argued that the legitimate Callahan properties included warehouses, records, and buildings with genuine historical value. Vincent had listened. Then for once he asked before acting. The foundation had an independent board. Emma accepted a position as archival director only after negotiating her contract personally. Vincent sat across from her during the meeting. You are asking for more authority than the first proposal. Yes, and less money. I want normal compensation for the position. You are impossible. You offered me the job. I am reconsidering. You cannot. I have it in writing. Vincent stared at her. Emma smiled. Jack, seated at the end of the table, covered his mouth to hide a laugh. The Foundation's first gala took place in a restored 19th century customs building overlooking Boston Harbor. Emma arrived late because one of the display cases had been set 3 degrees too warm. She spent 20 minutes arguing with a curator before finally entering the ballroom. The room glittered. Politicians, business owners, museum directors, old Boston families, men who knew exactly who Vincent Callahan was and women who pretended they did not. Emma saw him near the windows. Black suit, white shirt, no tie. The sling was gone. The ring was not on his hand. It hung from a thin chain around Emma's neck. Vincent had tried to return it to her 2 weeks after the attack. She had refused. It is yours, so keep it. That makes no sense. Neither did walking into my house with it. Eventually, Emma accepted on one condition. The ring would remain a family object. Not a claim, not a promise she had never agreed to. Vincent had nodded. I can live with that. Across the ballroom, a beautiful woman approached him. Emma recognized her from photographs. Madeline Carr. She touched Vincent lightly on the arm. He removed her hand politely. Madeline said something Emma could not hear. Vincent answered. Madeline laughed, then followed his gaze across the room, straight toward Emma. Recognition appeared on her face. She smiled slowly, then stepped away. Vincent crossed the ballroom. People moved aside for him without realizing they were doing it. He stopped in front of Emma. You are late. Temperature crisis. Lives were saved. Documents were saved. More serious. Emma smiled. She glanced toward Madeline. Someone was flirting with you, apparently. And Vincent looked genuinely confused. And what Emma folded her arms. You have a reputation. I have several. The one about rejecting every woman in Boston. Vincent stepped closer. His hand settled carefully at her waist. Not every woman. Emma looked up at him. That line was almost charming. I practiced. I can tell. Music filled the room. Vincent looked toward the dance floor. Emma raised an eyebrow. No, I did not ask yet. You were about to. I was. You hate dancing. I hate most things. Very romantic. Vincent held out his hand. Emma looked at it, then took it. They moved onto the floor. Vincent was better than she expected. Of course he was. You lied about not dancing, my mother insisted. Emma touched the ring resting against her chest. What would your father think of all this? Vincent looked around the restored building, at the foundation banners, at Emma, at the ring. He would complain about the catering. She laughed. I am serious. Vincent became quiet. So am I. Emma waited. Then his expression softened. He would have liked you. You cannot know that. Yes, I can. Why, my father loved impossible people. Emma smiled. Like your mother, especially my mother, and you. Vincent's hand tightened slightly around hers. Apparently it runs in the family. Emma rested her head against his chest. Outside the tall windows, snow had begun falling over Boston Harbor. 3 months earlier, she had walked into Vincent Callahan's house carrying the one object he believed he could not afford to lose. She had been frightened, broke, exhausted. She wanted nothing from him except the freedom to walk back out. Vincent had spent years surrounding himself with walls because walls made sense. Walls kept enemies outside. Walls prevented surprises. Walls did not die in hospital rooms. They did not leave empty chairs at dinner tables. They did not become names whispered after funerals. Emma had never asked him to tear those walls down. She had only refused to live behind them. That had been harder, and somehow better. The music ended. Vincent looked toward the windows. Ready to go home, Emma lifted her head. Whose home, the old Vincent would have answered immediately. His house, his car, his protection, his decision. Now he looked at her. A faint smile appeared. Whichever one you choose. Emma studied him for a moment, then took his hand. Mine. Vincent sighed. The radiator is terrible. You are free to stay here. That seems extreme. And the window works now because I supervised. You held a screwdriver. Critical support. Emma laughed. They walked toward the exit. At the coat check, Vincent helped her into her coat. His fingers brushed the chain at her neck. The ring caught briefly against the fabric. He looked down at it. Emma noticed. Do you want it back? Vincent shook his head. No, you tore Boston apart looking for it, I remember. And now he touched the silver wolf once, then looked at her. Now I know where it is. Emma understood he was not talking about metal anymore. She slipped her hand into his. They stepped outside. Cold air rushed over them. Snow covered the steps. The city lights burned across the harbor. Vincent opened the car door for her. Emma paused before getting inside. What he asked. She looked at the man Boston feared. The man who had once believed affection was simply another word for leverage. The man who rejected every woman who came close because distance felt safer than grief. Emma reached up and touched his face. You are thinking too much. Vincent covered her hand with his. Occupational hazard. She kissed him once, softly, then got into the car. Vincent walked around to the other side. The city remained dangerous. His enemies had not vanished. His past had not changed. Patrick Callahan was still dead. Nothing Emma did could rewrite that. But Vincent no longer needed the past to justify an empty future. The car pulled away from the harbor. Emma rested her head against the seat. Vincent reached across the space between them. He did not take her hand. He left his palm open, an invitation. Emma looked down, then placed her hand in his. His fingers closed gently around hers. No orders, no cages, no promises made out of fear. Only choice. And for Vincent Callahan, that was more frightening than loving someone had ever been. It was also the first thing that had ever felt like freedom.